everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in again today. Today we are going to talk about all things when it comes to weather and hail. So we know in Southwest Missouri we have all of Mother Nature's wrath, but today we're going to talk a little bit about wind and hail safety. And today I have with me Steve Runnels from the National Weather Service here in Springfield. How you doing, Steve? Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for the invite, Christine. I'm very pleased to be here.
Awesome. So tell everyone who's watching a little bit about what you do with the National Weather Service.
Well, the National Weather Service in Springfield is responsible for 37 counties across the Ozarks. That's 3 in southeast Kansas, 34 in Missouri. My role in particular is, yes, I'm a meteorologist, but also it's my primary job to liaison with all our partners across the region. So that means emergency management, it's fire, police, but also schools, the media, obviously. So it's a pretty busy time based on the fact that we've got so many people interested in the weather here in this area.
Absolutely. And how long have you been working there?
I've been with the National Weather Service since 1988, moving to Springfield in 1995.
Okay, so you've been there for quite some time. So it's safe to say that you really enjoy the work that you do and obviously all the collaboration you get to do with your partners. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been there so long.
Oh gosh, yes. The mission of the National Weather Service is to protect life and property, and that is a very important thing right here in the Central Plains and in Springfield in particular. And the other thing I'll add is everybody else at the National Weather Service has that same ideology, and it's a great place to work.
Absolutely. And I know this week is an extremely important week for you guys, and you are one of the partners that OEM works with when it comes to Severe Weather Preparedness Week. How's the week going?
Yeah, it's been fantastic. We did the statewide tornado drill on Tuesday, just kind of reminding everybody on how to receive tornado warnings. Ultimately, this whole week's goal, though, is to remind everybody that the upcoming severe weather season is coming, and let's plan ahead and get ready for it.
Absolutely. Preparation is the key to safety. That is what I've been saying all week, and I'm so glad you were able to join with us. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about wind and hail. We get both of those here in the Ozarks, and we are no stranger to hail. So let's start with hail. Why is hail dangerous? What should people do to protect themselves, and when that type of disaster may hit?
Sure enough, the National Weather Service is going to issue a severe thunderstorm warning whenever we anticipate 1-inch hail to occur. Now, hail can get much, much bigger. In fact, it can get up to the size of softballs. But at 1 inch is when we can start to anticipate there to be some damage to vehicles. Threat to people, typically a golf ball and larger, but that is something that we are constantly monitoring within the thunderstorm just to try to determine how big is that hail going to be, and we want to alert people when it's coming.
And what do you recommend for when hail does strike to protect their property, such as their vehicles?
Knowing what's coming in advance is key. We issue something called the Hazardous Weather Outlook that goes 7 days out into the future. So that gives you a kind of a heads up that something might be coming. Storm Prediction Center issues a watch. Okay, at that point, let's start moving your vehicles indoors. Let's maybe reduce the outdoor activities just on the chance that we have to issue a warning a little bit later on. But when we issue that warning, by that time, the time to prepare is over, the time to act. So forget about your cars, other stuff outdoors, just move indoors and you're going to survive the storm just fine.
Okay. Do we ever get more, do we ever get hail that's larger than the size of a golf ball here in Missouri?
We do. It's not necessarily every year. There does tend to be some years in which we get more very large hail. Just go back to 2020. We had just some hellacious hailstorms very early in the year. In fact, I think we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of that storm. But ultimately, yes, we do. We get a lot of storms producing some smaller hail up to the size of quarters, but we got to be ready for those larger hail events as well.
Absolutely. So today shares with wind. Right.
Yes.
And we just had a winter storm where wind was a big factor. And how can wind affect the community and cause some dangerous situations?
Absolutely. Just like with that severe thunderstorm warning with hail, we'll also issue severe thunderstorm warnings anytime we're anticipating 58 mile per hour. And it's kind of an odd figure, but 58 mile per hour is where we're going to start to see some damage to tree limbs, some loose objects laying around. As that wind speed increases, the damage is going to escalate. You'll start to get some shingles and roof damage, maybe some windows broken. Maybe if you combine the hail with the wind, you start to have the combined effects. Um, a common severe thunderstorm, again, 60 mile per hour, but it can go over 100 mile per hour. And in some cases, when it comes to wind, it increases very dramatically and very quickly. So anytime we issue that severe thunderstorm warning, just move indoors and you're going to be just fine.
Okay. Is there any way that people can protect themselves or prevent any tragedy or disaster from wind?
We say move indoors, but one of the things from wind is it can break those windows, especially if rocks and hail gets thrown up against it. So I, as a meteorologist, I recognize the desire to look outside and see what's happening, but that's the last thing you want to do during a severe thunderstorm. Let the storm pass, and then you can go outside and figure out what's occurred.
What if you're in your vehicle and a thunderstorm rolls through with really high winds? What should they do? I mean, I spoke with a storm spotter the other day who said make sure that your car is like facing the wind versus the side because your car is designed to take that type of impact.
The spotter is absolutely correct, and it's something that we do train them, as a matter of fact, to remain safe. If you think about your car, the windshield, it causes the airflow to go up and over your car. So if you point your vehicle into the wind or away from the wind, you're going to be just fine. On the other hand, if you're broadside of the wind, especially if you're in a high-profile vehicle, it's going to be more subject to that force, which could cause your vehicle to turn over. But again, if you know what's in the forecast, if you know a watch has been issued, hopefully you're going to be off that road when we have to issue warnings.
Absolutely. Is there any other situations that people might find themselves in when it comes to wind?
Oh boy, that's a good question. If you're out on a lake, if you're hiking, if you're just kind of hanging out in the woods, these are all situations that over the last 20, 25 years, we have seen numerous people injured and even some fatalities. So again, knowing what's in the forecast, I'm not saying don't go out on the lake. I'm not saying don't take that hike. But if you know thunderstorms are in the forecast, there is a degree of risk in doing so. Make sure you bring along ways that you can stay in tune with the weather. Radar is available on practically every cell phone these days. The ability to get watches and warnings on those cell phones or on the marine band if you're a boater. So staying in tune with changes in the weather becomes pretty important.
Absolutely. And as you said, when we started this discussion, storm season's going to move in here pretty rapidly. I mean, we've got some nice days out there. It might come faster than we think. Is there any other tips and tricks or advice that you would give to the community to help keep them and their family safe this year?
I don't know if it's tips or advice, but consider we talk about April, May, early June, but we get severe thunderstorms every month of the year. We also get severe thunderstorms every hour of the day. So yeah, let's get ready for April, May, June, but keep in mind any time here in the Ozarks is a potential time for severe weather.
Absolutely. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add that I didn't ask you?
Oh, I enjoyed the partnership. Um, uh, I think one of the things that remains a question at times, and I ask you this very question. We'll issue severe thunderstorm warnings for 58 mile per hour winds, but sometimes they get into life threatening 75 or 80 mile per hour. And it is my understanding that Greene County does blow their storm sirens for such events. And I think that's a terrific way to remind people it's not just a tornado that can cause a dangerous situation. Straight line winds can be just as deadly.
Absolutely. I mean, that actually brings up a great point. Um, when I spoke with the storm spotter, she had mentioned that straight line winds can sometimes be more damaging
Mhm.
because they come so fierce. Um, do you have any advice when it comes to spotting the difference maybe between tornado damage and straight line wind damage?
I think there's 2 points there, Christine, that you raised. Number one, let's compare tornadoes to wind. Tornadoes are relatively isolated. Yeah, it can be up to a mile wide, but wind damage can affect tens of miles, and it traditionally is often in swaths of damage that last for hours. So that's one consideration, one big difference between tornadoes and wind damage. They're both life threatening. In fact, 2/3 of all tornadoes are just as strong as the lower end severe thunderstorm warning, 60 to 70 mile per hour. So that's one consideration. The other consideration that we really have to be, I guess, cognizant on is that it's not as sexy. You know, people think of tornadoes and they want to prepare for that, and that's a great thing. But we have far more severe thunderstorms than we do tornadoes. So let's look at our frequency of events. Let's consider how widespread a hail and windstorm is going to be compared to a tornado, and let's just get ready for this upcoming severe weather season.
Absolutely. Well, thank you to everyone who tuned in today to watch and learn all about hail and wind safety. And thank you to you, Steve, for tuning in and for giving all of the this great advice to the community. We really appreciate it here over here at OEM.
It's a fantastic opportunity. Thank you, Christine.
Thank you.